Hey folks, happy Friday. Jules Polonetsky here at the Future of Privacy Forum. I'm here with Lauren Smith, one of our crack policy counsels, and Lauren works on issues like connected cars and autonomous vehicles, and yesterday she was in New York testifying at the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission because they are proposing that Uber, Lyft, Via, these other ride-hailing apps that a lot of us use, provide them with detailed information about where you called your car, got in, and then where you were dropped off. So really intimate information about where you start and where you end your day. For some of us, that could be revealing, and if that data was breached or de-identified, a lot of us could be quite embarrassed. So Lauren, why does the city need this level of detail about where everyone using an Uber or a Lyft starts and ends? Isn't this, what's the point of that?
So the purpose of the proposed rule is to fight driver fatigue. There was an incident in New York City recently where a pedestrian was killed by a driver who had been on the road for many more hours than it is safe to be driving for. So this is a laudable goal, and the city is trying to combat this by limiting the number of hours that taxi drivers and for-hire vehicle drivers, such as for Uber or Lyft, can be trafficking around passengers. The issue is that they could easily achieve this goal by focusing on trip duration. So they could count the number of hours that the driver spends driving and create limits for that. But the city's actually gone one step further by, rather than just looking for the duration of a trip, looking for exactly where the trip ends. So previously they have had the information about where trips begin, including the time, date, and location, but by adding the finishing point, you wind up creating a database that shows the start and end point for millions of trips that are taking part across the city. So the city, on a positive note, has agreed that they won't release information that contains any sort of driver ID or rider ID, any information that they post on their portals.
But if they pick up right at your house and they drop off right at some place that you might not want to disclose, well, couldn't that easily be de-identified in some cases?
Right, so there's two issues. So one of the biggest concerns that we have is if you're collecting this type of sensitive information and creating this massive database, while it may not have your name in the database, the fact that you live in a single-family home in a certain neighborhood and the rides originate there and go to another specific location over and over means that that data can be linked to you even if it doesn't have your name, even if it's not linked to a particular driver or your account.
And like other agencies, once New York City TLC has it, maybe the tax wants it, maybe law enforcement wants it, and what about FOIA, the ability for anybody to say, give me that data, it's government data, it's got to be made public by somebody who makes a FOIA request.
Right, so the Commission has taken steps to try to protect the data that would be released in response to the public requests, based on some incidents that happened previously where they learned that it's better to not release extensively detailed data because it has been re-identified in the past with New York celebrities who've been able to see where they've been going and how much they paid for rides. But the city has committed, going forward, with this data to only release information that details the time, date, and neighborhood. So it's harder to figure out exactly who is traveling if you're looking at a higher level up, so looking at neighborhood rather than exact address.
But the city's going to still have all this information, which is kind of risky. Well, folks, for Lauren's full testimony, check out fpf.org, our site. If you're a New Yorker, you may want to speak up. The next step in this proceeding?
So the vote at the Commission will take place on February 5th, so they are taking input from New Yorkers, from drivers, from riders until then.
And there's a Twitter hashtag. If you are a New Yorker and you recently called Uber, you saw that you were alerted to this and invited to tweet about it. So if you're on Twitter and you want to see what's going on, all the people that are critiquing this, the hashtag is
TLC Don't Track Me.
TLC Don't Track Me. So happy Friday. Hope this is useful. It's the kind of issue that could happen elsewhere. And we, of course, as many of you know at FPF, we're the optimists. We want the cities having information so they can better understand traffic. We certainly all want these services to be regulated in terms of fatigue. We don't want dangerous drivers on the road. But if we want these services to flourish, and if we want the city to have the ability to better understand how its people use transportation, making sure that the right privacy protocols are in place so that this data doesn't come crashing down around us is critical. And the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission here could do a far better job at being more careful about what it demands. Happy Friday.